Hebrews, it's the Israelite Brotherhood. I'm finna explain the history a little more in detail for the brothers and sisters that's just coming into the history. Just coming into the history. Okay, the first five books is called the Torah. That's gonna be Genesis, which is the history of the whole world. You know what I'm saying? And the first tribes and the peoples that the Creator created coming from Adam on down. You know what I'm saying? Everything basically kick off with the Hebrews with the prophet Abraham. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Then you got Genesis. All right. Then you got Exodus. You know what I'm saying? Exodus, deal with our exodus from Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Our ancestors was in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And we wasn't in bondage for no 400 years. The bondage kind of come on a little bit before Prophet Moses was born. You know what I'm saying? I showed that. You know what I'm saying, on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? And Exodus could be, like 1800 BC to 1446 BC. Okay. You know, our history is basically called the Tanakh. It's what they call the Old Testament. You know what I'm saying? But from Genesis to Genesis to Deuteronomy. Genesis to Deuteronomy is going to be called the Torah, the first five books, and that contains the covenant and the agreement that we made with the Creator up on our exodus from Egypt. Okay, when you get to Deuteronomy and then you read its history, you know what I'm saying? You should focus on chapter 28 of Deuteronomy because it contains the blessings and curses. This is how you know who the Hebrews are on this earth because ain't nobody been through the curses, you know what I'm saying, like our ancestors have. You know, the people from the transatlantic slave trade. You know, the Deuteronomy gonna contain the whole history, basically. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with the curses and the covenant contract that we made. You know, Prophet Moses told us that if we broke that covenant, what would happen to us? You know, and the Creator even said we was gonna break the covenant because he peeped what kind of people we was. You know what I'm saying? And how stiff necked we was. You know, and then as you read, you know, especially when you get down to Deuteronomy 16, uh, uh, 31, chapter 31, verse 16. And the Elohim said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and go a whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whether they go to be among them, and will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them. Okay, Prophet Moses even put emphasis on this when you get down to Deuteronomy 31, verse 29. And this is what Prophet Moses said. For I know that after my death ye will utterly corrupt yourselves and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you, and evil will befall you in the latter days, because ye did evil in the sight of the Elohim to provoke him to anger through the works of your hands. Oh, okay, it's like 818 years later when you get to the book of Jeremiah. You know, there's a lot of history, going on. We did a lot of foul stuff. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the book of Judges. We did a whole lot of foul stuff. We was in so many captivities in Judges. 8 years, 16 years, 50 years, 9 years. You know what I'm saying? We was in all kind of little captivities like that with the people in the land because we were supposed to drive the Amorites and the Canaanite tribes out the land. You know, those are the people that was, that created Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, the Amorites, the all Canaan's sons. You know, they had a form of Tazarat on them. You know, Tazarat is the real word for leprosy. Okay, we were supposed to drive them out the land and inherit the land and be a priestly nation uh, uh, to the Creator and for the earth. You see what I'm saying? And we didn't accomplish that. You know, when you get to the book of Jeremiah, which is kind of like the last book, you know what I'm saying? The last prophet that we was dealing with, because we went into Africa. You know what I'm saying? To worship the African religions. You know, when you get down to chapter 44, real important. Chapter 44, verse verse 15, 16, 17, and 18, the whole Hebrew nation said that they wasn't gonna do the covenant no more. You know, that we was tired of doing the covenant and that we was going back into Egypt to worship the Egyptian religion. You know, I got some videos showing how Egypt basically tricked us out the covenant. You know, them Hamites tricked us out the covenant. Because, you know, them people did trade with all these peoples over here. And as long as we was in the promised land, we kind of blocked Egypt from going across, you know, there to trade with the people in Mesopotamia, Babylon, and the Hittites up there. They was trading with all them folks. Egypt got an extensive history with trading with the peoples, you know, past the promised land, you know, in the Mesopotamia area. And we were stopping them when we had that covenant. So the Egyptians tricked us and put that golden calf on us. It's a long but short story. They put that golden calf on us, you know, and especially when Pharaoh seen how the prophet Joseph answered those dreams, and his priests, the priest of On, and all those priests that Pharaoh had couldn't answer his dreams, but Joseph did. And Pharaoh knew the ethnicity of all the people that came into Egypt. Okay, Pharaoh gave Joseph the priest of On daughter, Asenath, and she had two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Okay, Ephraim was big on the golden calf worship, you know, and you can see that through Jeroboam. When Jeroboam went into Egypt during Solomon time, man, he brought two golden calves out and put them two golden calves on us, and that messed us up the whole time. King Josiah, this is King Hezekiah's grandson, it was a prophecy for him to clean it all up, and it come about. He cleaned it all up, and then the Egyptians killed him. The Hamites killed him. The Hamites killed our king, King Josiah. And we went back to the Egyptian worship and went back into Africa. And this is, you know, where the book of Jeremiah kick in. You know, when you read chapter 44, verse 15, 16, 17, and 18, you'll see that the whole Hebrew nation said that they wasn't going to do the covenant no more. And we was through with it. You know, we was basically tricked out of our heritage, because after King Josiah was killed by the Egyptians, they put a son on the throne that was weak. And he, you know, the people went back to the Egyptian worship, and we all went into Egypt, all the tribes. You know what I'm saying? And I done showed the brothers during the Assyrian times that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. If you go to Second Chronicles chapter 30, this is the 10 lost tribe book killer. You know, King Hezekiah. King Hezekiah had everybody with him. This is in 715 BC. You know, that's like whenever you run across a passage and it say Israel was taken away, and if one person was taken off the covenant land, it would have said the same thing. Israel was taken away. But the thing is, the people didn't, you know, go to Assyria. They wasn't kidnapped and taken to Assyria, all the tribes. That 10 lost tribe myth. You know, if you get down to Second Chronicles chapter 30, you will see that King Hezekiah, you know, this is in 715 BC. You will see that King Hezekiah, especially verse 6, Second Chronicles chapter 30, verse 6, you'll see that King Hezekiah said, so the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remnant of you that are escaped out of the hands of the king of Syria. And then as you read Second Chronicles 30, you will see that all the tribes was basically still there. All of them, everybody. You know, when you get down to chapter 30, Second Chronicles 30, verse 11, you'll see that the name Manasseh, Zebulun, you know what I'm saying, humbled themselves, Asher, you know what I'm saying, they in there. And then when you get to Second Chronicles 30, 18, Second Chronicles chapter 30, verse 18, you'll see that Zebulun, Ishkar, and uh, uh, Manasseh, and you know what I'm saying, all of them were still there. And then those that's not mentioned during King Hezekiah time, you're gonna see mentioned during his great grandson time. This is the king that cleaned the whole land up. And the ones that the Egyptian killed, you will see that chapter 34, Second Chronicles 34, Second Chronicles 34, you will see verse 6. Verse 6. You know what I'm saying? This is in 638 BC. And so, you know what I'm saying? This is verse 6. And so did he in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, Simon, even unto Naphtali, that their mattocks was round about. So he was, trying to get the people to come to the Passover dinner too. And King King Josiah found the book. We had lost the book. We was off the laws. And he brought us back to the laws. But as I was saying, Hebrew history is gonna be from Genesis to the book of Malachi. Book of Malachi is the last book, 430 BC. And that was that 1% that was taken to Babylon when the 99% of the people went into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion. And those Hebrews that was taken to Babylon come back home, and then you can even see the tribes of Israel amongst the Babylonian captivity, especially when you go to the book of Nehemiah. You know what I'm saying? Ezra and Nehemiah. So I turn right to it. And all Israel in the days of Zerubbabel. You see, we was there. All right, Israel. You know what I'm saying? And then when you get to all right, let's go to Nehemiah. You know what I'm saying? Nehemiah, he basically tell you that Israel was there too. But the thing with the exile or prophets, you know what I'm saying? That's going to be Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Those 5 prophets covered the 1% that was taken to Babylon and they came back during the Babylonian captivity. You know what I'm saying? They come back, from Babylon, and those 5 prophets handled that 1%. Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah, he handled, the 99%. You know what I'm saying? If you go to Second Kings, chapter 25, verse 26, chapter 25, verse 26, you'll see that all the people went into Egypt. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they was afraid of the Chaldeans. Okay, we never returned back to the promised land. Those are the people that went into Africa in the book of Jeremiah. This relates to the same, to the book of Jeremiah. Second Kings chapter 25. It's the same history that's in the book of Jeremiah. And when we went into Africa, we never returned. We never returned back to the promised land, because that's why you got the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. They never recorded the Queen of Heaven worshipers coming back home. That would have been a great thing for us to go into Africa and then have a change of mind and then come back home to the promised land. Those prophets would have wrote about that. You know what I'm saying? But it's blank history on the whole earth for that. Don't nobody want to talk about that. Matter of fact, the Israelite Brotherhood is the only one that exposed this. Nobody exposed this but us, because we, do some real research. We go in depth with the history. So, the Israelite Brotherhood showed, that how we the Hebrews, because we went into Africa in the book of Jeremiah and we never returned home. We never came back home. We never come back home. You know what I'm saying? When we left there and went into Africa, it's blank history on those Hebrews that went into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion. You see, that's why come the Creator said, as part of the curses, we will be taken to Egypt in ships. That's Deuteronomy 28, chapter 28, verse 68. When it said that we will be taken to Egypt in ships. Okay, we was taken to Egypt in ships. America is to Egypt. It got Egyptian symbols everywhere. You know what I'm saying? They got obelisks all over. And one of the obelisks that we was enslaved under in Moses' time in Egypt is in New York. You know what I'm saying? It's in New York. You know that obelisk right there is the one that we was enslaved under. You know what I'm saying? In Egypt, when our ancestors, you know what I'm saying, was in bondage in Egypt. So that's why that prophecy come true what the Creator said. So, this is how we the Hebrews, and we only got from Genesis to Malachi because we didn't make it over into New Testament times. I got videos showing how the Greeks come into the land in 332 BC after they destroyed the Persians. See, when they destroyed the Persians, that kind of shut the door for the Hebrews to come out of Africa in the book of Jeremiah times. They had went in there like almost 200 years, what I'm saying, before then. That shut the door. We was locked in, what I'm saying, in Africa. And those exiles, they was destroyed because they started mixing with the people of the land, the enemies that didn't go into Africa with us. You know what I'm saying? That's like if you look at Second Chronicles, Second Kings, chapter 27, Second Kings 17, verse 24. You will see that we abandon our heritage to the Sephardi groups. The Sephardi groups, Hebrew name is Sepharavim. In 722 BC, the king of Assyria placed them in our land. And when we went into Africa in the book of Jeremiah, we abandoned our heritage to them. They didn't go into Africa with us. And they was doing our heritage during King Hezekiah time. All right, 722 BC. That's 2 Kings 17, chapter 17, verse 24. You'll see the word Sepharavim. Okay, Ashkenazi come in our land with the Chaldeans. They kind of like slick chased us out, because the Ashkenazi code name in history is Scythian. They made up the Chaldean nation, and they destroyed the Assyrians. They destroyed the Syrians. The Syrians was our friends in their last days, and it's called the satire history of Egypt. Okay, us Hebrews, the only history that we got is from Genesis to Malachi, but the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, tell you about the curses. In the book of Jeremiah, show you that we broke the covenant and we got the curses. It's a lot of history dealing with the Tanakh, so I'm trying to keep it brief. But shalom, this the Israelite Brotherhood. This the Israelite Brotherhood. We showing how we the Hebrews, and we showing how we broke the covenant. And a lot of you Hebrews want all them other books, the apocalypse books and all them other books to be our history, but it's not. Those books were created by the Babylonian scribes, the Sepharvims, the Sephardi groups that we abandoned our heritage to, that didn't go into Africa with us when we took off. See, it was some people placed in our land in 722 BC that stayed there. You know what I'm saying? And you'll see them mixing with the exiles doing Nehemiah and Nehemiah, Ezra, and Haggai, and Malachi, and the prophet Zechariah days. You know what I'm saying? Those was the prophets that handled it 1% that come back from Babylon. And they had to be cut off because we couldn't pass heritage over to the people that was in the land. And we are the remain, the people from the transatlantic slave trade. That's like how we showed it. Ain't no Hebrews went through no magic waterfall during the Assyrian captivity and ended up in the Americas with no sheeps, no goats, no nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's a myth. And how some of you Hebrews want everybody to be Hebrews. Everybody to be Hebrews. You want everybody to be Hebrews that's not Hebrews. Well, that can't happen. We ain't going for that. You know what I'm saying? And we ain't going to let that happen. So y'all can hang that up. But this is just a little brief summary on how our history go. Shalom. This the Israelite Brotherhood. This the Israelite Brotherhood. Tell other brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying, about these videos so they can start getting their history, and it's easy now. We're going to make it easy for you. Shalom. And then I'm going to start doing the history on the other books in the Tanakh too. Shalom, Hebrews. This Israel being Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood.